So I thought I'd make another video, and this is to you, Uncle Will, and to Ryan, if you bother to watch. You know, last I heard you don't care what your fans think, so maybe you won't. Anyway, I got a lot of respect for you, Uncle Will, and I know what you're trying to do. You're seeing all these people ragging on Ryan, and you're trying to defend him. But what you can't do is don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Ryan didn't have some super secret underlying intent or all this like super secret insider information that he was trying to convey in some kind of coded way. He flat out made the determination that the whole case was fake because he couldn't find a particular building where they were having these meetings about the case from satellite images. He went over it and all he could see was a construction site. Well, that's because Ryan, being a normal 30-year-old, and don't get me wrong, I love the guy. I think he's a modern day Elvis. I think he's an incredibly talented songwriter, incredibly talented singer, but he's also a knock-kneed 30-year-old that doesn't know everything yet. And there's a lot of stuff he doesn't know, he doesn't understand. And the reason why that building that he was looking for wasn't there was because the satellite image of that area is 5 years old, and the building hadn't even been built yet. A lot of people are under the misconception that Google Earth images are current or recent. And I've already talked about this before, and you can confirm it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Ask Google. Google says the average is a year. And many of them are several years old. So he based this all on that. He couldn't find this building on satellite view because he was ignorant about the way Google Earth satellite images work. They're not current. They're old still photos that are stitched together. You can even have the two different images in the same frame. In other words, you could look at a satellite view above your house, and on one side of the street, in that view, you're looking at an image that was taken a year ago, and on the other side, other half of it is 8 years old. Those are still photos that they stitch together like a quilt. And in some areas where it's really booming and there's a lot of new streets being added, a lot of new addresses being added, they'll tend to aim the bird that way more often and take a picture. But most of them are a year or more old. So that's why he couldn't find the building. So when he was compelled to think it was fake, it was because of his own ignorance of the way things work. That's not an insult, it's an observation. And when he showed that guy sitting in that garage and circled his tennis shoes and said, look, same shoes. Kids, that photo of that guy sitting in that garage was taken in 2008. It's 14 years old. I don't know anybody that keeps the same shoes for 14 years. That guy would have been a child. So, you know, this Ronnie guy would have been a child 14 years ago. So that wasn't Ronnie sitting in that chair in a photo in 2008 with the same shoes on. Once again, Ryan's a bit confused on how Google Street View works. Google Street View doesn't come from a satellite. Google Street View comes from actual cars with cameras on the top that drive down every street in America. And that camera spinning, taking a 3D image as it drives down your street. And I want you to think for a minute how long it would take Google camera cars to crawl every street in America. My Street View is 8 years old. I can tell you, I looked over the entire Truckee area. I couldn't find a Street View newer than 5 years old. I couldn't find a satellite view newer than a year and a half old. So there would be no evidence found in the Kiely Rodni case by using Google Earth. It's just impossible. And he said a lot of hurtful things. He made a lot of hurtful accusations. And he's got a large... It's not like it's just some dude expressing it, like me. I can get on here and say something stupid, and it's not really going to matter much. But when a celebrity with a megaphone the size of his makes accusations, it has weight. The accusations carry weight. And he's got about 1 million people out there right now spreading his misinformation. And it's been hurtful. It's caused anger. It's caused fights. All kinds of stuff. So rather than defend it, Uncle Will, rather than make excuses for it, if you're a true fan that wants nothing but the best for him, you need to be willing to tell him when he fucked up. You need to be willing to tell him when he's wrong. If you're not willing to do that, you're not a fan. You're a cult follower. And if Ryan's not willing to take constructive criticism from his fans, especially ones that are older and wiser than him, if he's not willing to take any criticism at all, he doesn't want fans. He wants to be a cult leader with a bunch of cult subjects. And that's not cool, man. You know, to tell people, you know, there were fans reaching out to him, Uncle Will, saying, Ryan, you're wrong. That picture's from 2008. And he's telling them to fuck off and shut up. They're stupid, and if they don't like it, unsubscribe. I mean, you can see where it went. And absolutely, Kylie's family saw all that stuff. So did Adventures with Purpose. And I think Ryan needs to walk it back, because until he does, until all his fans say, Ryan, this was wrong, you need to correct it. All his fans need to do that. If they care about him, they would. He needs to walk it back, because until he walks it back, there's going to be people spreading this information for eternity. And it was bad information based on his own ignorance. Even when he was flipping out because that one house was blurred. Well, listen, that's nothing special, guys. Any one of you can send Google an email and say, please blur my address. And all you have to do is prove you own it, and they'll blur it for you. I have mine blurred. Now, the reason I have mine blurred is because I was a boss. I was a regional manager for a large company, and I fired a lot of people, had to, over the years. And I just, you know, I didn't want them poking around, looking at where I live and all that, maybe wanting to get revenge or something. So I had mine blurred years ago. And most big YouTubers will have their address blurred. Of course they will. And you can have yours blurred too. You don't have to have some insider connection to have your address blurred in Google Streets. They'll do it for you. All you got to do is ask them. And so there's no conspiracy there. So he was wrong about that. And then while on the podcast with Adventures with a Purpose, when Jared and Ryan did admit he was wrong about this, by the way, but I do want to touch on it again. They were talking about the car must have been in neutral because the wheels were free spinning, and that's just not the case. It's not the case. And you don't have to take I'm a 39-year veteran mechanic with an automotive engineering degree. I retired as a service manager from a Honda dealership, and I own my own shop. But you don't have to take my word for it. You got Google. You can ask them. All automatic transmissions will free spin in any gear any direction when the engine's not running. And that is so if you drive down the road and your engine stalls, your tires don't lock up and make you crash. And that is a common knowledge fact. It's a common knowledge thing. And that 30-year-old singer from Tennessee didn't know that. So you can disagree with something Ryan says and still be a dedicated, loyal fan. And as long as you're willing to make excuses for him, Uncle Will, then I don't think you're a fan. I think you're a cult follower. If you're not willing to criticize or critique, especially when he's wrong about something like that, yeah, you need to do a little soul searching yourself if that's the case. I care enough about Ryan. I want my grandson to be able to go to one of his concerts. I don't want to see him get canceled or get sued or get kicked off YouTube. And this nonsense of him saying he doesn't care. Come on, man. Ain't nobody going to tell you they don't care about their YouTube platform where they promote their music, where they have 3 million subscribers. Of course he cares. And when you get canceled from YouTube, you don't get to make another channel. You don't get to just make another one. It don't work that way. You're off the platform, period. And that could happen. When Luke Combs was being made to apologize for daring to be proud of his Southern heritage and appear on stage with a Ryan Upchurch and a Confederate flag, I thought for sure he was going to get canceled then, because that was hitting some major news cycles, and I thought, oh boy, here it comes. They're going to cancel him over that damn Confederate flag. And I was actually shocked. That's the daggone screen going into screensaver. I was actually shocked that they didn't. And with the Confederate flag stuff, combined with saying a dead child wasn't real, man, he's skating on thin ice. And I don't want to see that. And so all his fans need to be willing to criticize him when he's wrong about something, and he's a normal 30-year-old that doesn't know anything, or doesn't know everything, I should say. He's certainly going to be wrong about some stuff, and he was wrong about a lot of stuff in this case. Zanime is indeed active military. That's been confirmed. That video of her at that cookout, that wasn't her video. The people that were having that cookout at that park, where people go do cookouts every single day. I mean, you understand, people are in that park every single day having cookouts. It's a very popular park in that area. And they simply had a cookout. They recorded themselves a little bit of their cookout, and they uploaded that video in Snapchat and pinned it to the location on Google Maps. And all Zanime did was see that pin on Google Maps, and she clicked on it and played it. It was never her video to upload. It was never her video to give to police. It was just some people that recorded themselves having a cookout at a park where people have cookouts. And he made it into some kind of a clue, and it wasn't. It's just an innocent cookout. Some people having a cookout in a park where people have cookouts. They made a video. They pinned it to Google Maps. Zanime saw the pin and played it. I went. It was still there. I played it. So, all that nonsense, and he was just wrong. He didn't understand that that's how that works, that you can pin your own video in Google Maps. And that's all she did. And so she was, and he had me thinking she was guilty of stolen valor, and then come to find out, by God, an actual news reporter confirmed that she's active military. An active news reporter for a news station confirmed she's active military, and in fact showed a whole bunch more pictures of her in the military. Then all the nonsense about no pictures of the party. The party didn't happen because there's no pictures. Well, guys, these are minor children. You're not allowed to creep on a minor child's social media. You can't go look at a minor child's Facebook or Snapchat. So those pictures aren't available to you. And a lot of those kids would have probably told their parents they were going to the movies, and they went to a party instead. So they're not going to be posting pictures all over their social media because their grandma's on there and their mom's on there and their aunt's on there, and they don't want those people seeing them at a party. So I bet a lot of those kids shared those pictures in Snapchat, and you can't see them because they're minors. And the ones that they could see, the police have probably said, hey, we're taking these and don't share them. So that theory is just completely out the window. And a lot of innocent people have had their feelings hurt. A lot of innocent people have been slandered. And it just wasn't right when you got a megaphone that size. So, love you, Uncle Will. But, yeah, you need to be willing to tell him when he's wrong, not make excuses for him.